little bit longer. Ah, there we go. Hey, folks, thanks for tuning into the Banff Podcast. I am your host, Mike Lafferty, and
Remember this time.
I remember this time.
You've
That's
just been bamfed.
Yeah, we need a shirt now.
We need a shirt now.
We have shirts.
We have shirts. I should find that
Yeah,
storefront
but does it
site.
say that you've just been vamped?
No, it just says the Banff Podcast on it, but we can arrange for it. You've just been bamfed.
Yeah,
Hey, we have a viewer. Hey, viewer, say hi. We are not playing Forgotten Ruin today because we had folks get sick and have to cancel. Hey, Alice. Hey, Sparky. Hope to see you next Monday. But we're here to talk about the Forgotten Ruin world that our friend Walter Billiard is a contributor to. Can I say that? Is that secret information?
No, absolutely not.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, you can say whatever you want. I was the third dwarf on the left.
Walter's a fine author, and he has many excellent books. You should check them out.
Thank you.
This is true. All right, so Forgotten Ruin. The elevator pitch has always been Shock and Awe meets Tolkien, or a who's this? Punishment 90. Hey guys, I made it this time. Hey, good to see you.
Hey,
So we've also called it Helm's Deep with Army Rangers.
hell yeah.
So it's it's really easy to see this as like a Netflix movie or a sci-fi movie, network movie. So here's the first book, Forgotten Ruin, in which they arrive in the ruin. Here's the next one, Hidden Fade, which is what happens in this one? Do you remember?
Them versus the undead.
The undead. Violence of Action is when they have to take out a green dragon, which just the modern military tactics and planning, the hit on the guy, and just the weeks and weeks of how we're going to make this happen is really interesting stuff, as well as the fantasy elements.
I'm sorry, I can see the slideshow. It's like, all right, everyone sit. Okay, today we will be tackling this dragon. He is surrounded by all these goblins, and he has this layer here.
Do you know what a sand table is, Jacob? Have you ever heard of one of those?
I am not familiar, no.
So a sand table was what happened when a bunch of guys with a bucket of those little green army men were like, we can get in some kid's sandbox and plan an entire operation just with this. So it's like one step removed from like an actual RPG game, except you're planning a military operation.
Okay.
And I could just picture the sand table that these guys had, with like all their MRE trash as the enemies, and stealing stuff from the dwarves that they've made friends with to simulate like the dragon and stuff. But the book itself, Violence of Action, is hysterical, because it's like this thing just came in and slapped him in the face and was like, "What you gonna do now, punk?" And the Rangers were like,
RPGs?
We don't talk about this. We just do it. So, but yeah, A10s versus Dragons. It's in the rules. Baldur agrees.
I just want to see a dragon go, "What's that do?" And
Yeah, the big what is it? The Gao 8. Yeah, just dump tons of rounds. Oh my God. But yeah, so I mean, the great thing about this is it maintains the formula for Wargate books and what a Wargate book should entail, and that is modern military, fantastic element, in the perpetual taco machine.
Now, I think the part of that sentence that probably needs the most explanation is perpetual taco machine.
So in the Forgotten Ruin books, the Rangers go forward into this fantasy, this huge fantasy domain. But one of the ways that they are allowed to continually operate as United States Army Rangers with modern gear is that they have the ability to use a molecular 3D printer that basically uses the atomic structure of everything around it to generate all the equipment they could need up to a certain size. So like, think like what's the name of that thing in Star Trek where they
the replicator.
Replicator. It's kind of like a replicator.
Is it more like a replicator or fabricator from the old series, where you have to put like material in it and stuff comes out?
Yeah, no material. It actually
it
draws material from the air around it and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is, in the story of Forgotten Ruin, there's a very key element that any modern technology breaks down after a while. So without this thing, they would be back to Bronze Age warfare in no time. It's in the third book, they have to constantly do supply runs because they are far and away from where the forge is housed. Same thing for the fourth book. They go on a little sea trip, and it's this item was something they brought with them. But if you look at a different Wargate book, we have Peter Nealon's The Lost, and he's one of our other authors. And it's, instead of Army Rangers, it's a group of reconnaissance Marines that during an exercise off the coast of Norway, they enter a fog, and the fog transports them to, this really, really brutal land. Mike, have you hit the second book yet?
Just finished the first about a week or two ago.
Yeah. So in the second book, we see the perpetual taco machine for the Marines, and it's not a technological thing. It's actually a magical thing with they have in the Lost, they have an analog for the, I'm going to say this wrong. The Tuatha De Danann, I believe it is, from Irish legend. And in the books, they're called the Tuatha, and they're kind of like elves, but don't think Lord of the Rings. Think like amazing CrossFit athletes, where one sit-up is equivalent to 30 to them. They're just these like pinnacles of human perfection, but they have access to a mystical version versus a technological one. So yeah, it's pretty dope. It's been really interesting to see how the modern military tactics stack up against like old style, just like throw as many troops as you can. And the thing about the forge is, yeah, you got all the ammunition you could ever want or need, but if you didn't know to print it ahead of time for an orc horde coming at you, after you've dumped your combat load, for a 240 Bravo, I believe, is 1,000 rounds total spread out among the squad. After you've dumped 1,000 rounds over several hours, if you don't have that backup, they're going to swarm that position. So it is not as easy unless you do some of the things that Nick and Jason have written into the story about holding that position.
Yeah, it's sad if you get back to the forge and you're like, fabricate a bullet, another bullet. They're still coming.
Yeah, it's pretty dope. There's a lot of cool stuff as far as this goes. So, but yeah,
Wait.
Go ahead.
Speaking of cool stuff, he says, inserting a clever segue, we have raised $32,000 and we are smashing through stretch goals. So right now you can back, and there's obviously the book, but look at all these add-ons. You've got dice trays, t-shirts. What all you got here? Well,
so the dice trays, those are actually made by a guy named Ted Lehman. He's a leather worker that does some amazing gear. If you asked me how he pulled some of this stuff off, I wouldn't even be able to tell you. Like, for example, if you can share my screen real quick.
Yep.
Share screen window. So some of the detail work on this, he did the Forgotten Ruin map in leather.
Oh, good Lord. Look at that.
That's pretty.
It is really gorgeous. This little notebook right here is a for field note style notebooks. It's like, there we go. You can kind of see it there. It's really, really gorgeous. Got internal pockets. You can hold 2 notebooks in here at a time. So yeah, we have him doing the leather work for the dice trays, and those dice trays were like legit. Like he sent the test sample to Nick Cole, one of the authors, and it's really dope. You can lay it flat, or you can snap up the sides and it'll do like a complete dice tray. It's pretty wild. So you got that. You got our Be Meaner Than It t-shirts. So, and I can attest they are solid construction. I've rolled a bunch of times jiu-jitsu with them. They didn't rip. What do the fantasy races think of the Rangers? John asks. Well, it depends on the race. The Orcs really don't care for them. Mostly because they dumped a whole epic truckload of 5.56 and 7.62 into those guys when they got there. But the elves are wary, but optimistic in dealing with them. And then you got the dwarves who really, really, really dig them. The dwarves see them as almost like a kindred spirit that just didn't know when to stop growing. So the dwarves in the Forgotten Ruin have been described as like trying to deal with an Amish biker gang. So and they're just hysterical. So the dwarves really like them. There are a few cities of men still up and around, and those cities tolerate them as they would anybody else. So it really depends. And then of course you have the undead, which didn't care for them. The undead tried to smash the crap out of them. And as of the time of this, as of the time of the current book, there are some different factions out there that are monster-esque that have been actively trying to murder them. So if you share my screen again, Mike, they can see those dice trays out in the wild. It's almost there. But yeah, the fantasy races in the communities, some people really dig them. And some people really don't like them. And at this point, enough of the people who don't like them have tried to kill them enough times where the Rangers are like, no, you stay there. We'll come to you. Which is the kind of the points of the books 4, 5, and 6. But yeah, these are the dice trays. They're absolutely dope. They're absolutely good. So we got dice trays. We got some custom dice coming up. We haven't showed those to backers yet because we're still locking down the design. I have a set, and I have the design stuff, so that's going to be dropping to the backers later in the week so that they can see it. You can get obviously the t-shirts if you want, like the actual novels. Any threat of the fantasy bad guys going through the portal back to our Earth. In the Forgotten Ruins storyline, no, they only go one way. But we have a number of authors like Pete Nealon, who did The Lost. We have John Doc Spears, who's going to be doing like United States Army Special Forces goes through the portal and they end up in John Carter's Barsoom. So yeah, that's called Warlord. That should be dropping at the end of next month. And we have another author who's not halfway done yet, so we'll keep the lid on who that is. But he has a portal that goes both ways. But all the rest of the stories so far, the portal has only been one way. I have to throw it out there that the entire Forgotten Ruin community is super awesome and welcoming as well. Everyone is coming together for something we all have been waiting for. Hey, and you know something? He's not wrong. Back in the day, I set up a Discord for the Galaxy's Edge community. We turned it over to somebody as the head administrator, and then we pop in there periodically, but not so much because we're really, really busy, and the community over there is really cool about running and regulating and blah blah blah, and then reporting back to the authors. But the Forgotten Ruin Discord that just launched up was totally fan made. We didn't have anything to do with it. We came in later and we're like, hey, there's a Discord here. Holy crap. But everybody is super welcoming. We all have this geeky love for role-playing games. And, it's really interesting to see how a modern military element can change all that if they arrived, for both good and bad. Luckily in the first book, Talker took care of some of the bad. But yeah, the community so far has been absolutely awesome. Even over on the Kickstarter page, and normally on a Kickstarter, you'll get guys who are just like, "Why can't I get it in green?" It's like it's made of steel. How am I going to make green steel? But like, and this Kickstarter backer, everybody's been super cool. The questions that are answered are really targeted right toward, making this a better experience for everybody. The guys from the biggest question that we've had so far is, why are we only doing U.S. shipping? We did a couple of long posts to kind of address that. As a kind of like an exclusive right here on the BAM podcast. We worked today with some European suppliers to try and fix that, to get our friends out in Europe some books if that's what they're looking for. Some physical books, obviously, if you're across the pond, the PDF is available. So we're working on that as well. So the community's super awesome. So if you got 5 minutes to waste, grab a book, read a couple pages, and then come on over to the community and talk about it. It's really, really cool.
Sweet. And Sparky says hi. So, hey, Sparky. Good to see you, sir.
Dude. Frequent.
Feeling better.
Yeah. We were supposed to play that game today, but everybody's schedule went 3 shades of sideways. But I appreciate you guys coming out and helping me talk up a little bit of Forgotten Ruin. Bear is getting a book one way or the other. Bear is our friend over in Europe who plays on Sparky's channel on Twitch, and then they're talking about either airdropping or doing an airborne operation of physical media for him. Bear's a really good supporter, even though he's obsessed with cucumbers.
I think on that note,
yep.
If you enjoy material like that, please help support the BAM podcast, and be sure to like and subscribe to this video on YouTube and our other social media that we have. Otherwise, do we have anything else?
Yeah. Anybody got any questions?
It looks like we had another comment. Let me go over there. Respect elf thoughts and praise God.
Oh my God. There is a
but the elves are so pretty.
Oh God. And the Rangers, when they get there, are like, girls, and they're like, nope, not girls. You did but yeah, there's when
it's elf, it doesn't matter.
Nice Aliens callback. But yeah, the what do you call it? In the current book that is being worked on right now, there's a thing about that, and it's really interesting. So I can't wait till that drops so I can talk about it.
Tease.
Yep, that's what I do.
All right, that's cool. So hey, go to Kickstarter, find Forgotten Ruin. You've got about 6 more days, and next Monday we will be playing Forgotten Ruin, I guess, in the last few dwindling minutes of the Kickstarter.
Yes.
So
be awesome.
It'll be the final Kickstarter party, and on that, that's our closing music. Oh, there is one more comment from John Gibbons. Hey, John. Old enough to be a great grandpa. Yeah, that's a problem with elf-human relationships.
And I see no problem here.
Oh my God, there's a Jeff Dunham joke that is so on target right now, but I can't say it without knocking you into several grades of hate speech.
So
all right,
let's not go there.
Yeah, I'm just gonna wrap things up then before Walt gets us
banned.
Canceled. Yeah. All right. Thanks for joining, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Cheers.